Yo, what's pumping people? As of today, it's been 5 years since I had my spinal surgery, and I truly believe one of the biggest contributing factors to my fast recovery was my fitness and health. So today I wanted to go over what my journey has been like over the past 5 years when it comes to weightlifting and getting in shape. So I actually started my fitness journey back in 2015, where I went from 235 pounds down to 175 pounds, and it was arguably my healthiest point. Even though I was very inconsistent with my nutrition and my training, at least I frequently maintained focus on both. What I want to focus on today is my journey as of 2016 after I had my spinal surgery, because that's where everything became substantially more difficult. After my spinal surgery, I was unable to return to the gym for about 6 months, but finally in March/April of 2017, I was able to return to the gym, and it was a very slow progress, but it was progress nonetheless. Training was difficult because I was very limited on what I was able to do. A lot of exercises I wasn't able to perform the same way that I used to be able to, and certain exercises just put too much strain on my back, so I was unable to do certain movements, such as leg exercises and ab exercises, nor did I have an efficient means of doing cardio. Still, I did the best I could. I trained for about a year, and that is when my first transformation video was posted back in June of 2018. Training was very difficult because I was very limited on what I was able to do. So I was unable to do certain movements such as leg exercises and ab exercises. I also didn't have an efficient means of doing cardio. Still, I did the best I could and trained for about a year, and that is when my first transformation video was posted back in June of 2018. Towards the end of 2018, I wasn't the most consistent ever, but at the very least towards the beginning of 2019, I was somewhat in the best shape I had ever been. I was my lowest weight and I had visible abs for the first time pretty much ever. The downside about this time is that although I was fairly lean, it just didn't seem like I had sufficient muscle on my frame, so I didn't really look all that impressive. I have a transformation video posted on January of 2019. If you'd like to check it out, it's a very quick video of my physique at the time. I had told myself that as soon as school ended in May, I would focus on the gym as soon as summer started. Unfortunately, however, I ended up taking summer classes, which postponed further my return to the gym, and in July of 2019, I had a brand new job opportunity that presented itself. 2020 comes around and I started being a lot more consistent with going to the gym. I was doing pretty well, but as we all know, 2020 was quite the year. In March 2020, all gyms were shut down, and at the time I had no idea how serious or how long term this shutdown was going to be, so I didn't think too much of it. I developed some bad habits during this time, and I ended up going back up to around 200 pounds. In June of 2020, gyms actually reopened for about a month, so I took advantage of the opportunity. However, I wasn't expecting that gyms were going to close back down in July. Although I would frequently go to the gym, I took for granted gyms reopening and didn't go as often as I should have. After having gyms closing again, I was losing my mind and I was extremely upset with my body, so I had to do something. At this point, I was close to 4 years of recovery after my spinal surgery, and I had seen brief glimpses of me being able to run, and although it would occasionally hurt, I decided to try it out. In October of 2020, I posted another transformation/physique update where I showed that I started doing bodyweight exercises and 3 to 5 mile runs several days a week. In mid-September, gyms once again reopened, and I was almost forcing myself to go to the gym at least 4 days a week because I didn't know when or if gyms were going to reopen. It was at this point that I started really assessing my body. I observed a large detrimental fact in my entire fitness journey. Ever since 2015, when I first started my weightlifting journey, I have constantly been trying to get down to a physique that I was happy with. However, due to my inconsistencies and several life-interfering events, I would go extended period of time where I would not be going to the gym and training, so I would of course gain a substantial amount of weight. Every single time that I've returned to the gym, I have been doing it with the intent to lose weight. Due to my spinal surgery and being unable to perform several movements, my focus in the gym was never strength training. My training has always been focused more on proper form and hypertrophy. I have noticed that for someone that has been training for 5 to 6 years, my progress is substantially lower, and I am significantly weaker than I should be by any metric. This is partially because I was always focused on form and proper technique. I never cared to ego lift. I never tried to hit a 1 rep personal best because I just didn't think it was worth it. Of course, there were also exercises that I simply wasn't able to do or was too concerned to try that I have only as of recently started implementing, such as deadlifts and to a lesser extent squats. What I've been consistently training for pretty much the past 5 years on the bench press is only a plate and 25 from anywhere from 8 to 12 reps. And my squat is only slightly better than my bench press, where I would occasionally squat 2 plates. And deadlift training has been absolutely non-existent in my training regimen. Now, I never really thought too much of this because I never really cared to compare myself to other people in the gym, but I did start noticing online that there were people my age of comparable size that were lifting substantially more weight. I would approximate close to double, if not even higher than that. Still, I didn't think too much of it until I actually thought about my progress back in 2015 before my surgery. I've been in a perpetual cutting phase for pretty much the past 5 years, and I realized it's led to a large detriment in both my strength training and my muscle building. My numbers after 5 years of training with increased knowledge, improved form, and better technique are slightly lower than they were right before my surgery. I needed to do something to help with my performance in the gym, and I needed a solution for the probable issue of low testosterone. But we'll address that issue later. When gyms reopened in September of 2020, I realized since I was at a sufficiently low weight that I was okay with, but was still unhappy with the overall muscle on my frame, I thought it was time for me to do a lean bulk. The whole intention of this was to finally be in a caloric surplus so I could finally start putting some muscle on my frame. However, it'd be very difficult for me to do that without gaining fat, which would of course lead to the cycle repeating itself all over again. I had to approach this intelligently. In order for myself to gain muscle, I needed to gain weight, but I didn't want to gain fat either. And the most important thing is I needed to improve my metabolism. Previously, I found out that my caloric intake was anywhere from 1400 to 1800 calories. That is significantly lower than it should be. So when I returned to the gym, I started making my caloric intake anywhere from 1800 to 2200 calories. I started going to the gym about 6 times a week, but to compensate for my increase in calories, I was doing 30 to 40 minutes of cardio every day. My intention behind this was to both increase my metabolism and preserve the weight I'm currently at, so that way the fat that was on my body would hopefully be turning into muscle. I have to say this was a pretty good plan, and I was having pretty good results. So I ended up posting an update video on October 5th of 2020 with my current progress. And although I don't look particularly huge in muscle, my frame was overall improving. My progress was going pretty well, but of course in November, gyms once again shut down. The cycle was of course repeating itself, where due to lack of training, I was gaining weight, but at the very least, I was maintaining my weight a little bit better than normal because I was being a bit more mindful. In March 2021, gyms reopened, but I unfortunately didn't immediately return to the gym because in January of 2021, I had pretty solid income coming in, so I was to some extent regrettably more focused on working than I was with getting back into the gym. Eventually, however, I slowed down with work to take brief breaks so I could finally return to the gym. I have recorded that in April, I went to the gym 12 times a day, and I have the same thing for May. In June and July, however, I went to the gym about 20 times each month. And in August, where I've been taking my training the most serious I ever have before, I have 28 recorded sessions that month. Now, this doesn't mean that I went to the gym 28 days out of the month. No, there were several days where I would go twice. One weightlifting session and one smaller cardio session later that night. But all that is to bring us to where I am today. Over the past several months, I have been watching YouTube channels such as Greg Doucette and Derek at More Plates, More Dates, where I started learning a lot about steroids, SARMs, and performance enhancing drugs. Like I said previously, I suspected that I had low testosterone and I needed a solution. But while I do plan on getting checked very soon to actually test my testosterone levels, ultimately, when I was talking to people regarding the possibility of having low testosterone, I did not like the idea of being prescribed testosterone replacement therapy. The thought of having to inject a needle inside my ass several times a week was absolutely dreadful, and even if I only had to do it once a week, I did not want to adhere to that. I still needed a solution, and if my biggest problem with my performance in the gym and my lack of energy, then I needed something to help with that. My sleep has been terrible for several months now, where even though I would sleep for about 8 hours a night, there would be several nights where I would wake up countless times, and by the time I would wake up, I would feel restless, I would feel extremely tired and dead throughout the entire day. Even after potentially multiple naps a day, I would still feel tired at the end of the day, which would leave me with little to no energy at the gym. Well, it was at this point that I decided to try Derek's brand of supplements called Gorilla Mind. What I purchased was a sleep aid, a stimulant-free pre-workout, and L-carnitine, which assists with fat loss. This is what I needed to help improve my performance in the gym, and it is the reason why I had so many sessions in the gym in August. I am conducting a body transformation experiment where I want to see what kind of progress I can make in the gym in about a year when I train seriously and consistently with adequate caloric intake, maintaining caloric expenditure via cardio sessions, and hopefully improving muscle mass and potentially strength training. August was the beginning of my experiment where I tested my baseline through achieving adequate and restful sleep, which subsequently resulted in improved performance in the gym. I am very excited to start this journey, so I hope you guys stay tuned and enjoy this journey with me. There's a lot more to come. There's going to be a lot more experiments, and I want you guys all to stay tuned. But for now, this is going to be the end of this video, so I will catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.